You know the vibes. Welcome back to another episode of the Hoop Genius podcast, brought to you by NBA 2K23. Mo Mootsie alongside me as always, the one and the only Mr. BJ Armstrong. BJ, how you doing?
Real name, Mo, no gimmicks. Real name, no gimmicks. I'm doing great. A little NBA action, and let's get to it. Let's get to it, my friend. Let's not waste any time.
We do have to start this off on a slightly sad, not slightly, a very sad note. Hall of Famer Willis Reed very sadly passed away today. Yeah. Now, BJ, for our younger audience here who don't know the history of the game all that well, can you give a little insight into what made Willis Reed such a great basketball player and human being?
Wow. I just try to get to this quickly, hey, my condolences to him and his family, right? I had many opportunities to meet Mr. Willis Reed, and what a great human being, first of all. He was always had a kind word, incredible person, and an amazing basketball player, Hall of Famer, two-time champion.
With the Knicks.
With the New York Knicks.
Them championships don't come easy.
Yeah, he had one of the great moments in basketball history, right? He's hurt and he comes out there and plays and finds a way. When you say toughness, you got to think of, Willis Reed. So very sad day for the NBA family and the NBA community. He would be, dearly missed within the community. He was president, GM. He coached in this league. He played in this league. And he was just a great human being and ambassador for the game of basketball and everything he did. So, again, our deepest thoughts are with his family during this time and everyone in the NBA. So, but if you have a chance, please look him up, on YouTube and what have you. Just a great player, right? But just a marvelous human being.
Absolutely, man. Thoughts and prayers go out to his loved ones. And, it's good to see the Knicks doing well this season, though, on that note. They are doing quite well. They had a really interesting game the other night against the Timberwolves. It got me thinking. I started thinking, BJ, man, I'm starting to feel real old. I'm starting to feel real old.
If you're feeling old, man, what does that say about me? I mean...
I watched this game, the Knicks against, who was it, the Timberwolves, right? And Julius Randle had an absolutely amazing performance, right? He came out and dropped 57. Yes.
Right.
But I just can't get excited about these high-scoring games when you end up losing to the Timberwolves, who didn't have Anthony Edwards or Karl-Anthony Towns. Taurean Prince dropped 35 on you. So... is that just me? Because we had this back and forth about Devin Booker's 70-point game. If you're going to drop all these points, you got to win the thing. Allen Iverson said to me last week, he goes, bro, if you cross someone over, it don't mean nothing unless you make the shot. And that's the same mentality that I have. But what's the point in these big scoring games? Why are we supposed to celebrate it if you don't win the game? Do you share a similar sentiment, or am I just a grumpy old man?
Well, I can't afford to, at my age, to watch the game through the same lens. So I've already changed my glasses.
Okay.
And what I used to think about the game and how I used to look at the game is totally different now.
What made it change?
Well, they're playing a different game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think the score at halftime was they had 69 or 70 points at halftime, talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah.
Right? It was 70 to 68 or 70 to, I mean, it was like incredible halftime score. Right? I mean, 68, 70 points in a half. Mm-hmm. Oh, in a half. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I was like, and whether or not they're, two-way players, right? Karl-Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards weren't even on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
So they scored 68 points minus two all-star caliber players. Well, Mo, I can't afford to expect more. Yeah, that's just the way that's the way you play now, right? That's the way the game is played. That's what it is. And I'm not gonna, I'm not watching the game in the same lens. However, Julius Randle had a third quarter for the ages. Okay, he got cooking, and I don't know how many scored. I think he had 20 something.
26 did he have in the third?
Yeah,
It's like a record.
He
He took over from Carmelo.
Yeah, he got cooking. But when I watched that game, okay, they had about, I don't know for sure, talking about Minnesota. They had like 5 or 6 guys, Mo, in double figures.
Mm-hmm.
Mo, like 5 or 6 guys in double figures. I mean, you're like, okay, what is going on? And this is the New York Knicks, right? Coach Thibodeau has a reputation for defense.
Yep.
and Bo, the score was like 100. What? I don't know. What was it?
140 to 134. And for the Timberwolves,
I mean,
Torian Prince had 35. Mike Conley had 24 with 11 assists. Gobert had 16. Jaden McDaniels 18. Carl Anderson had 10. And then off the bench, Nas Reed had 12. And Noel had 14.
Yeah, that's what I said. Okay, that's 7 guys, right? By my calculation, That's 7 guys. I mean, it's like unbelievable, Mo. It really is unbelievable. So I'm not expecting anything, this is the game. Guys are shooting threes. Mo, I don't know. Like, I don't know.
It's interesting with all the scoring because the Knicks did put up 134 points. Mitchell Robinson finished with 0 points. He went 0 for 1 from the field, and he put something up on his Snapchat recently where he said he's basically tired of doing cardio, just running up and down.
You know what? Mo, I'm a big guy trapped in this little guy's body, right? I thought that was great. I love the big fella for that. If you know what, I love I love the big guys, right? And you know what? If I was on social media like that, I would have liked that. I mean, that was funny. I thought it was. I thought that was funny. I thought it was hilarious, and I got the joke. But you got to be a big guy to get the joke. But I got the joke though. It was great. Like, hey, throw me the ball.
Well, speaking of social media, one topic that has been sweeping through the Twitter streets recently, Mario Chalmers has done a little media run recently, and the quote that stood out for everyone is when he says, "Back in the day, everyone was afraid to play against Michael Jordan. But no one's afraid to go up against LeBron." And he means the night before a game, people are worried about having to go up against MJ. People don't have that same fear when they go up against LeBron. Maybe when they see him on the court running at them on a fast break, they're a little afraid, but he doesn't strike that fear into his opponents. I wanted to get your take on that. Because, you talk to current players, you obviously played in that same era with Jordan as well.
I mean, listen. Mo, it's a different time. And listen, Mo, at my age, I don't feel I've never felt this way, but especially now, I don't feel like I have to tear down one person to prove what I know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, listen, it was just a different game. Like, Mo, like if you say it was a different game and then I start telling you the truth about that era, you're going to be like, oh man, he's hating on this era. Mo, so I just don't say anything. Like let it be what it is. However, Mo, you know what I truly am hoping, Mo? This is my hope.
Okay.
You know how everything comes back in style?
Yeah.
You know how you see like bell bottoms come back in style, then we went to skinny jeans, then you get the bell bottom.
What's a bell bottom?
Yeah. No, the wide legs.
Boot cuts.
Yeah, boot
Call
cuts.
them boot cuts.
Yeah. Cuts. And when you see fashion, things just come back in style, right? Like as a kid, I wore like Converse Cons and I actually played at them, and then they come back and then now they're, some type of fashion. You make a fashion statement, so things come back in style.
Never skinny jeans, I'm hoping. Though. I can't co-sign that.
Yeah, but 30 years from now, Mo, you and I'll be somewhere and we'll see skinny jeans and they'll come back in style.
But you'll never see them on me. I can guarantee you that.
Okay, that's fair. This is what I'm hoping comes back in style. I'm hoping, Mo, that professional sports, as I once was introduced to it, with 3 components to it. You compete, you tried to win, and then, because you were a professional athlete, Mo, you wanted it to be entertaining. right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, Mo? Like, you wanted to walk away and you saw Magic Johnson do a no look pass. You go, oh my gosh, did you see that? Did you see the guy dunking over such a Dr. J would come and dunk, and you would see Kareem shot. You go, man, that's one of the most beautiful shots I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You would see Larry Bird and these guys, and you walk away and say, wow, like these guys are really good. Like, Mo, you would, AI, for instance, who you just like, he would cross over and you'd be like, wow. You would just like, it was entertaining. I hope it comes back to that, Mo.
I think really it's still entertaining. I mean, there's no way you can't watch Steph Curry and think, oh my God, what's he doing? Or Ja Morant and think, holy hell.
Okay. I said there's three things. I hope it is there. You can't have one. It can't just be an entertainment league. You got to compete and you got to win.
We're going to watch the Generals in for the playoffs.
Yeah, like, the Harlem Globetrotters were entertaining. Okay.
Yes.
What makes it professional sports is it has to have those three components to it. I hope, Bo, that it all comes back at some point. Like everything in life, it comes back in style. I hope it's competitive. I hope, the winning matters where, you don't hear as much. I'm not saying it doesn't matter now. It just seems now we're more interested in, oh, this guy can play. This guy needs help. This guy needs things. Now, I'm saying all these things to say the following. You asked a question about, what Mario Chalmers said. It was just a different time. And here's the thing, Mo, that I am always aware of, because I have kids now that are in their 20s. Well, I have kids that are in their 20s. Okay.
BJ has adopted me for you guys listening.
Yeah. Well, and Mo is so I got four kids now. Okay. And I got Mo. So Mo, and you guys, I just told my son this today. I go, you know what? I learned so much from talking to younger people, because you're always introducing me to things that I have no idea about. Like Mo, I don't know what's going on in the minds of younger people, because, like I'm kind of 30 years removed from that now. Mo, I'm 55. I'm so far removed from that. I'm like, okay, what are you thinking? Like, what are you saying? And then they always laugh at me, just like you're laughing right now. You know what I mean? But you're my kid. You're my kid now too. So I don't know, Mo. I literally don't know. But I am open to learning. I'm open to hearing what it is and try to make sense of it. Today's game is just a different game, Mo.
You know what it is for me? I don't think it's a knock on LeBron's greatness to say people aren't afraid of him. Like, if no one's afraid of you, but you still come in and drop 35, 10, and 7 or whatever, fantastic, right? I think now, especially now, 20 years deep, no one's afraid of LeBron because they all grew up fans watching. He's been in the league that long that they're not afraid of him because they don't see him as a peer. You see Jabari Smith Jr. make his NBA debut, and he goes up to LeBron and he says, oh, you played against my dad, right? How can you be afraid of someone that you watch play against your dad? And LeBron is a really quote unquote nice guy. He's friends with all the other players in the league. Guys like Kobe Bryant, for example, or Michael Jordan, they weren't so friendly from what we have observed from a fan and media perspective. I don't know if you have a different perspective. They weren't as friendly, like, LeBron's training with KD in the summertime, or LeBron's joining Miami to team up with Bosh and Wade, XYZ. He's more friendly, right? And it's not a knock against his greatness to say that guys aren't afraid of him. And then the other factor is as well, if we're going to just state the facts here, Jordan came in and reeled off 6 straight championships. LeBron has had his flaws in the game. Like when you look at what happened in Dallas, XYZ, not to say it's a knock against him, but I'm just saying he looks a little more human. Like when Mike was out,
who are you talking about?
LeBron James. He looks more human. Like when Michael Jordan was in his peak, he like transcended the sport of basketball, right? You talk about him going around the world and people are taping the game. Not to say that LeBron isn't doing all of those things, but you see that mentality when he's there. And I think just because it's not a knock on LeBron, he's just a different style of player. You know what I mean? I think it's different. It's like boxing, right? You have some fighters or UFC. You have some fighters that will come in and they'll talk a whole load of trash to the opponent. And you have some fighters who will come in humble, whatever, and they're just nice guys. They want to turn up, do their fight, and then get out of the ring. I don't think it's a knock against LeBron saying no one's afraid of him. I think, okay, cool. He's not like Kobe, who's gonna, first play of the Olympics, he said to the team, I'm gonna run straight through Pau Gasol's chest to let him know we're not friends as long as we're on this court. I don't see LeBron doing that to one of his teammates, but that's besides the point. And the part for me, if I'm gonna give my true thoughts on this, is there's one clip of LeBron James. Now, don't get it twisted. I love LeBron. I'm not a LeBron hater by any stretch of the imagination. But there's one clip that I can never forget. It's in the finals against the Spurs when Kawhi Leonard was bursting onto the scene as a defensive menace. LeBron's at the free throw line. He shoots his free throw. He turns around and he sees Kawhi Leonard check into the game at the desk, where you check in substitutes. And if you watch LeBron goes, oh, damn. And he's just like, he looks afraid that Kawhi Leonard is coming in to guard him. I never seen Michael Jordan do that. That's all I'll say on that. And I'm not taking anything away from the greatness of LeBron James. I'm just saying mentality.
I will say this. I will say this, Mo. This is listen. When you watch, players, right? Just like when you listen to music, next time you listen to a great song, notice what you're thinking or the emotions that it evokes. Some songs will evoke a certain emotion, right? Whether it's happy, sad, you know what I mean? Whatever a good song, I don't even care if I like the song. If the song brings me to some emotional thought, I like the song.
Yeah.
Every time, this is one thing about that generation. And Michael happened to be the best player in that generation. Your rawest emotions and your rawest feelings, Michael Jordan embodied that.
Yeah.
Okay. Bo, like, you don't have to be a Michael Jordan fan. You don't have to be a fan of that era. But when you did watch that era evoked an emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That era was about competition. Clearly, people were going to the game was so physical, they had to change the rules because it was raw.
Yeah.
There were I played in an era where the referees would tell you, hey man, don't drive to the basket tonight.
For real.
You get hurt. You know how these guys go to the basket and are finger rolling and all of that? You didn't. No one did that. Why? Because the bigs, there was a rule, There was an unwritten rule in the NBA. You know how you watch a game now and guys will be going in, doing a layup, a reverse layup, and then they start pounding on their chest? Mm-hmm. Okay, you didn't do that. Why? Because big guys took it personal when little guys would come in and get a layup. Okay,
who are those guys that would be in the paint when the ref would tell you, don't go to the hoop tonight?
Those are guys like Jeff Rulin, Rick Mahorn, Buck Williams, Bill Cartwright, Bill Lambier, the whole Pistons squad, the late Kevin Duckworth, Charles Oakley, Otis Thorpe. The list goes up. If you were a big guy and you could drive on that team, the Davis brothers, everyone did it. It wasn't just one guy. You drove to the. You've seen how many times have you seen the highlight? Kurt Rambis is going in for a layup, and they just clothesline the guy.
Yep.
Common foul, 2 shots, and let's play.
Yeah.
Okay, now you accidentally touch someone's ear, flagrant 2, and a suspension.
You celebrate too much, you get flagrant now. You got
that's what I'm saying.
Celebration.
You talk to yourself, they call it technical on you now. You don't even have to talk to the officials now.
Yep.
So what I'm saying, is that era evoked the rawest feelings that you had. And it evoked like when you watched that era, right? When you watch the Pistons, for instance, and you watch the Bulls, Bo, those teams, those players were attacking for 48 minutes. They attacked you on defense. Jordan attacked you on defense and offense for 48 minutes. He was attacking. Mm-hmm. There was no Mo like, what's up, bro? What's it? No, Mo. And you knew those guys didn't like each other. There's something about that raw emotion that brings out the best in the players. It brings out the best in the fans. And sometimes it gets a little emotional where it spills over and everyone gets there's confrontation. Mm-hmm. But let me tell you something, Mo. We respect that level of relentlessness that you brought to the game. Mo. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if that's good. I don't know if it's bad, but I do know this, Mo. I love to see competition. I know the fans love to see competition, and I know everyone respects that. And when you know, Mo, you're playing against someone who's relentless. When Mo knows right now, before the game starts, if he goes to the basket, he's going to get fouled to expect contact. Mo has to make a choice the night before to say, hey, man, I know he's going to hit me. Now, what you going to do? Now, are you going to react in an emotional way and get thrown out of the game? Or are you going to accept the physicality of the game and get yourself prepared mentally and physically to play in a game that where if you weren't tough enough, you couldn't play in the game? It's a different game. So, of course, guys, now you don't have to worry about that now. Mo, I can't be mad at this generation. They didn't, Mo. I had to be concerned about that when I played the Detroit Pistons. I got to make a decision. If I drive to the basket, I know Lambeer, Rodman, and John Sally are waiting for me at the basket. And they're not trying to block my shot. No one's trying to take a charge there.
Yeah.
I have to make, Mo, that's a different decision. So the night before that game, guess what I did, Mo? I had to get prepared for what was about to occur if I was going to play in that game.
And how did you prepare?
Which is total. Well, Mo, I had to understand what was expected of me. At some point, I was going to have to get hit. At some point, I was going to have to do what I had to do. At some point, Mo, I knew I was going to have to be the last line of defense and foul them just as hard as they were going to foul me. And Mo, I also knew that you can't be the most aggressive player on the floor and be the victim at the same time.
Yeah.
So if they hit the crap out of me, I had to pick myself up. And no matter how bad I was hurting, I couldn't let that pain be seen on my face. Because I understood the game within the game in that era, right? Like, it's easy. Like, now a guy hits a guy and everybody want to fight. Mo, like, no. Rick Mahorn was going to hit me. Anthony Mason, the late Anthony Mason, was going to hit me for no reason at all. Just to say, don't come in here. Charles Oakley was going to hit me. Now someone gets hit. Oh, he's a dirty player. That's Charles Barkley was going to hit me. So, Mo, watching Steph Curry drive to the basket now, Mo, I smile. I go, wow, yeah, that's great. That's great. But let me tell you something. Jeff Rulin and those guys, go look those guys up. Jeff Rulin and Rick Mahorn, they had a combination called bump and thump. And Mo, they dared you. They dared you to drive to the basket. You can look it up. Mo, you can look it up. You can YouTube it. They call themselves bump and thump because when you played them, Mo, you had to have what's called a stop and pop game. Everyone had to have a game where, you know what, you were going to have a mid-range because there was no driving to the basket.
I searched bump and thump 76ers, and the first thing is Charles Barkley brawls with Bill Lambier, an epic 1990s Pistons versus Sixers fight.
Yeah, look up Jeff Rulin. Jeff Rulin and Rick Mahorn. Look him up. It was unbelievable, Mo. It was just
we got to get Rick on the show.
Era.
We got to get Rick on the show, bro.
Yeah, we got to get him on, and you gotta. It was just a different time, and I'm sure this is what I am positive. You know, I don't know what it says. You know, as you're looking it up, if LeBron played in that era, he would have been a different player.
Mm-hmm.
He would have been a different player. I guarantee you, Mo. You know how you see guys like Mo. I'll take one thing for sure. I know players in this era wouldn't do in that era. No one would be jumping off one leg. If you notice the people in that era, no one jumped off one leg. Why? Because you was always aware or afraid someone was going to take you out of the air if you jumped off one leg. That's why everyone jumped off two.
Mm-hmm.
See, when you went to the basket, in that era, you went off too. Why? Because you knew someone was going to hit you. You didn't go there off one leg and no, Mo, no little guard like me would be going to there. You know, like Kyrie has a leg game. I love that one. Oh, Kyrie has a leg game. He's got the greatest leg game. Well, okay. Antoine Carr and all of those guys. Oh, come on, let them drop. I'm not going to tell you who we would do this on, Mo. We would, on purpose, get guys to drive to the basket, knowing very well that the big was just going to clobber them at the basket.
You want to shake them up. You want to
like young guards. Oh, this guy, he's just getting in the league. He doesn't know any better. He's just going to drive to the basket.
Mm-hmm.
No, Mo, you didn't do that. You just, every guard knew that. You didn't do that. You got to the basket. Oh, the big guy would be like, send him to the basket next time. If you really want to know why people start saying red, you know what red is push the baseline?
Yeah.
You know why we really did that, Mo?
Why?
It's because all guards were afraid to drive all the way to the basket. You get clotheslined. From the baseline, a big guy who was lifting on the other side would come running full speed. So imagine Shaq and I colliding at the basket. That's not happening. No.
Oh, no. No, sir.
Patrick Ewing is just waiting on the other side. He's like, I dare you.
Yeah.
Like no guard did that.
Yeah.
So you just kept the ball on one side of the basket. Now you run a clear out. Your guy starts dancing. He has to hang dribble. He crosses over. Hey, lays it over the big guy, then pumps his chest afterwards. You're like, God, I would have loved to. I would have loved to see me do that over like Charles Oakley or somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But that was then. So I think what Mario is saying is just it's different rules now. Bo, you didn't do that. You just didn't do it. It wasn't Karl Malone and these guys. You know, you interviewed, Isaiah Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Karl Malone hit Isaiah Thomas. I think the guy had like 50 stitches just for driving to the basket.
Well, the good news is, BJ, I'm keeping the 90s mentality alive, as my friends who I play pickup with will tell you.
Listen,
but that's mainly because I'm not good at blocking shots. So I'm just going to take you out.
well, I hope that I look, I'm not advocating that. I'm glad they changed the rules, by the way. They had to change the rules. But that was just then. And you can see the difference in the way the game, Mo. These athletes today are bigger, they're stronger, and they're more athletic. The rules had to change. Because, Mo, if you would allow those rules today to exist today that happened back then, someone would have seriously got hurt. And, Mo, people got hurt now. You know what I mean? And I'm not – look, I was a little guy. Mo. I was a little guy. I ain't trying to be tough and all that, back in the era with Mo. I respected how the game was played back then. But let me tell you something. These athletes are better today.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they changed the rules. I'm glad I'm happy to see these guys driving to the basket and they got their lay game and they're up and unders and everyone's okay. Good for those guys. But what we should have, Mo, I would love for us to have some big guys who played in that era on the podcast.
Man, let's get
And
Rick. Let's do it. We've
Rick
been
may
meaning to.
start fighting us. He may start fighting us. You know
well,
what?
we went on his radio show and he was already talking smack from the minute we went live on air. So
exactly. You know, and Rick is great. Put it like this. Rick set some really good picks on me, and I wish I was a little bigger. I will say that.
well, you know, we don't quite have that same physicality and everything going on in the NBA right now. What we do have is a new villain in the NBA. And that's Mr. Dillon Brooks.
Oh.
Had a great one the other night after going up against the Mavs where he tried to do a jersey swap with Kyrie and Kyrie gave him his jersey, then walked off without taking his. You know, he's had his little back and forth with Draymond Green. And he's kind of the villain now in everything. And I'm not saying that I like Dillon Brooks. I'm just saying that sports is more fun when there's a villain. I think it's more fun for everyone involved.
I'm going to say this. I like Dillon Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
Because he embodies one of the three things I just talked about. All right. Whether you like him or not, he competes. You can say what you want to, Mo.
Oh, yeah.
Whether you like him or not, the guy takes on the best player on the other team. He took on Kyrie. He takes on KD. He takes on Steph Curry. He takes on Luka Doncic. He takes on every exterior offensive player on the other, best offensive player on every team. He takes on Damian Lillard, and he takes the matchup. So whether or not you like it or not,
statistically,
go ahead.
Dillon Brooks is defending all-star players more than anyone else in the NBA. And he's defending better. I've got the stats right here. He's matched up in a half court defensively 922 times against this year's All-Stars, the most of any player. He's held those All-Stars from Tatum to Curry to Durant to 45.7% effective field goal percentage, which ranks first amongst the 72 players who have had 400 such matchups, which is the league average. The league average is 54. So the average player has guarded 54 possessions against All-Stars. He's guarded almost 1,000.
No. And Mo, that's what I'm saying. He embodies one of the three things that, to me, what makes professional sports. He competes.
I think as well, like, to be a great defender, you have to be kind of dislikable to the other fans. So you think about Ron Artest. You think about, like, Bruce Bowen. Opposition fans hate Marcus Smart. Like, you have to be a hated guy.
Draymond Green. Mo, you don't have to be you have to have a different mentality. Mo, I'm going to stop you. Mm-hmm. Mo, that's a different. Defense is about two things, Mo: effort and energy. You don't need any special talent other than to say, I'm going to commit myself to that other end of the floor. Now, the guy does that. Check. Say what you want. The guy plays to win. Check.
They said to him, how does it feel to lose $250,000 through fines and suspensions? And he said, it's just paper.
That's
check. Take the check.
Yeah, check. That's what I'm saying. Mo, this is what I'm saying. I respect the guy. I respect what he does. Now, if you want to say like, okay, but I wish he wasn't talking. Okay, that's another conversation.
I don't mind talking. I wish he had better shot selection.
Well,
I love his defense. Get the offense. Go past the ball, bro.
I love the guy. I really do. I respect his game.
The cameraman thing was bad though. I did not respect that at all.
I didn't see the camera. What's his camera?
He fell into the crowd and he pushed over a cameraman who's apparently now seriously injured. I don't know what's happening with that situation, but if you see the clip, it is not good look. I don't condone that in the slightest.
Yeah,
but
I didn't see
that aside. I think it's fun when the NBA fans have a collective kind of guy that they want to go up against. You know what I mean? Like
and Mo, here's the thing that I really like about him. He's entertaining. Mo, he shows up. Like, Mo, think about it. Before the Golden State game, we're talking about Dillon Brooks versus Draymond Green.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking Dillon Brooks when he guards Steph Curry. I loved it, Mo. I loved it. Why? Because you're seeing, man, these guys, and they're probably good friends. But you know what?
They're not
when he
friends.
got tangled up with, they got to be. You know why? You know why I want to say they're friends? Is because when him and Draymond got tangled up, That's like respect. That's like you and I pretending like we don't like each other during the course of a game.
Okay, so it's an act.
Well, I'm not saying it's an act.
Draymond had a few things to say about Dillon Brooks on his podcast.
Yeah, everyone's saying, but Mo, saying something, and when you get out there with someone, and then now they're like, everyone's like this, holding their hands up. Yeah. Like Mo, like you and I can talk all this stuff, and then when the game starts,
I hear you, because he didn't have the same energy he had for Jordan Poole when it came to Dillon Brooks. I found that highly interesting.
That's your generation. That's your generation.
I'm just
saying. I like the fact when guys are talking, and I like the fact that they're playing to can win. I like Steph Curry. He just laughs at it, which I was like, you know what? Good for those guys, because I loved playing against guys who like talk, right? Like, because some of the stuff that Gary Payton would say, I thought was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Gary was an all time. Larry Bird, all time. And some of the stuff those guys are saying, it's really funny, and it makes the game fun.
What's the best trash talk you heard? You got a quick one-liner for us? If you got so kids listening, mute the audio now.
I can't tell them, but I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna tell you one of the best trash talkers. There was a lot of guys. Everybody talked trash, right? Everybody talked trash. I was never a big talker. I just thought it was always funny. I mean, maybe because I grew up that way, you know what I mean? And like when I got to the NBA, it was like, I did that in my youth, so I didn't want to bring it to the NBA. But Larry Bird was one of the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
Larry was one of the best. Gary Payton was good. Yeah, Gary was actually great.
Who was the best teammate you had at trash talking on that Bulls team? I think.
Oh, MJ was he was next level. But his trash talking was borderline brutal because he could back it up. You know what I mean? Trash talkers, like most of the time, you would say these things and you were laughing, but nothing really happened.
Yeah.
Like this guy was like, he was putting pressure on you and playing and talking to you, and he was attacking you on the defensive end. So, it was so many guys. Everyone talked. I mean, for the most part. But I always enjoyed it. And then you see these guys afterwards, and it's all fun and games. So it was good. I mean, I never took it personal. But there was, but Larry Bird was one of the best. He's one of the best. He was one of the best I've heard. He was really that good.
This is a family-friendly show, so unfortunately we can't say all of them. We're gonna have to wrap up the show so I can ask BJ what Larry Bird used to say when we stopped recording the show.
Larry was one of the. He was like one of the. He's one of the all-time that I've ever heard. Like in the NBA, whatever. He is one of the best. I'm gonna tell you who else was a good trash talker. Like I don't know, people he may not be as well known, but Pooh Richardson he was just funny.
Yeah,
he was just the guy was a comedian. He was just
I mean, he's a smaller guy. Like you got to be a bit quick-witted when you got to decide you got to have something quick. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Without naming names, there were some funny officials back then too. Yeah. Officials used to talk to you back then. It's not like today where they don't talk to the players.
Okay.
The officials, some of the officials, they talked just as much trash as the players.
Yeah.
Back then.
For real.
The older official. Yeah, it's the older official. That's why I think, and I'm not saying good, bad, or indifferent. I think there's better officiating when you can have an open dialogue with the official.
Yeah.
Because the official is like human.
Yeah.
There were certain officials who back then, like if you talk smack to them, they'd be like, "What you say, Mom?"
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's like that? Mo, they would talk to you like they weren't talking to you like ignore you and walk away. Mo, they would talk back to you. Like you say something crazy to them, they may say something crazy back to you.
Man.
Mo, so and I'm gonna tell you something. I thought it brought about better officiating. Because when you talk to somebody and no one says something back, you know, you may think you're intimidating the guy. And then here's the thing that I loved back then. Here's the thing that I loved about that era was the better officials. When I say the better officials, the officials who you knew who weren't intimidated by the players protected that official.
Yeah.
As crazy as that sounded. Like if you were a young player and you tried to curse a vet that everyone knew was a vet official, you'd be like, hold up, man, you can't talk to him that way. And you'd be like, oh, my bad. Mo, you would say that about the official.
That's crazy.
There were officials that everyone knew, like, no, that's my guy. I don't play like favorites or anything like that. But Mo, you knew, and those officials had earned that level of respect from the players. And the players knew, no, that's such and such. No, you can't talk to him that way.
That's wild.
Mo, and that to me, and Mo, you could if you were a vet and you had a 10-year relationship with an official, you could have a conversation that was like, you'd be like, man, they going at it. Mo, you would go at it, but it was respect there. It was so much respect there. Now, I think that's why it looks awful now, because now they're just calling the rule books. They're not having a dialogue with the players.
Yeah. They're not like colleagues. It's like a supervisor.
Yeah. Like, Mo, man, I would get fouled sometime and I could go and ask the official, man, how'd you miss that? You know what, BJ? I couldn't see you. I missed that one.
Yeah.
And I can respect
I respect the honesty.
Like that. Mo, now, guys would just walk away. You'd be like, man, I'm just talking to you.
Yeah.
Like everybody's Mo.
Now refs are crazy. Like you can't say nothing now. You can't say nothing
Mo,
now.
You know what I'm saying? And sometime, Mo, you got away with one. Sometime they miss one, but you respected that. And that to me, Mo, is what makes, I don't know, that's what made the game. Some of those officials, Mo, they were that good. That the players, I mean, Mo, there were some officials that, you know what, you were like, okay. They were just as much part of the game.
That's crazy. I never thought about it like that.
Oh man, some of them, I miss some of those guys. Mo, some of them were fun. Mo, some of them were funny. They would talk so crazy on the floor. Mo, they would talk crazy. They would talk. Mo, one of the funniest things was, it was crazy, right? I mean, Mo, we're getting crushed. I mean, Mo, we're getting crushed. Like we're down 25 in like the first. It felt like in 3 minutes. So, after a certain while, you're on the road, you're getting crushed. Nothing's going right. The other team's going crazy. Da.
Yeah.
So, what's the first thing you do? You got to change the momentum of the game, right? So you would foul. You try to foul somebody.
Try to take a charge.
You try to do something to change the momentum of the game, right?
Yeah.
Try to get a tech. And
yeah.
The official would not call a tech. He was like, you guys are going to sit here and you're going to sit here and you're going to participate in this game. And he would not. Mo. No, Mo. It was so funny. Even we started like everyone was trying to get a tech. And Mo, we were like trying to get a tech. And Mo, he was like, no, you guys are no. You guys aren't going back there and have a hot dog and hang out in the locker room. You're going to stay out here. If I gotta, Mo, and he was talking the whole game. He was like, if I got to be out here for 48 minutes, you guys got to be out here for 48 minutes. And Mo, my whole career, I laugh about that with him every time. I was one of the greatest officiating jobs. He
Man,
wouldn't call a tech on the coaches. He wouldn't call a tech on the players. And Mo, it was great. Mo,
he said, "If I got to sit through this, you do too."
No, Mo. It was great, and we so respected that we all had to, Mo. Like, you got to respect it. Like, there was a human element to this.
Yeah,
and it was great. I mean, there were things that were happening like that, and you know what I'm saying. And you know, there were great officials, but now I get it. You know, now you can't have those same relationships that you have back then. But stuff like that would happen though, and that's what made it fun.
I hear you. Well, listen. Speaking of fun, this has been a very fun episode. I hope you guys have enjoyed this insight and these expert opinions from Mr. Armstrong. BJ, I appreciate you as always. We'll be back tomorrow with more, so make sure you guys subscribe. I feel like after that episode, we deserve a nice little review or something on the Apple Podcast. I feel like a 5 stars is necessary. But no, I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you rocking with us. I'm gonna have to wrap up this show here, and then I'm gonna talk some trash to BJ off air because we can't do that on the air. But stay locked in. We got a lot more on the way. Make sure you subscribe, and most importantly, get buckets.